The Crew 2 drifting gameplay with the Lamborghini Aventador and the Mazda Rx-7.
Turismo's been with us as a sponsor since day one. It's time for them to re-up their contract, and I really don't want to lose them. So we gotta show them they're getting their money's worth. By we, I mean you.
Right then, so this is the first drift competition in the game, the first proper one I should say. As you can see, we've chosen the Lamborghini, the beautiful Lamborghini Aventador at that, black rimmed out, looking beautiful in the evening sun. So as you can see, this first track is in an airport section, and I must put a quick disclaimer out. I do apologise if my drifting is not up to standard. I'm not very good at it. People who have followed the channel for a while will know that I'm actually terrible at drifting, thus why I don't do videos. But the only reason why I've done this was for you guys to see and experience firsthand what the drifting is like in the Crew 2 when on a circuit in full-on competition mode. Now as you can see, the actual scoring mechanism has changed in the Crew 2 in comparison to the Crew 1. What you've got now is you've got your speed and your angle points basically hovering around the actual body of the car, on the left, on the right, depending what your entry is going in from corner to corner. And then what you've got around the central area, mainly around the back, is the actual multiplier itself. So obviously it's quite self-explanatory. The longer you can keep the momentum going, the longer you can keep the back wheel spinning and going sideways, the more your multiplier is going to build up. Now as you can see, there's a beautiful sun ray in the background. The lighting, the contextual lighting here is fantastic. And what I'm trying to do is just keep those back wheels spinning as much as possible. This is not brake to drift. It's not like Need for Speed Payback. There is definitely a bit of skill that's needed here. What I found was that you really have to be accurate with your throttle inputs. You've got to feather it lightly. You've got to know when to lift off. You've got to know when to put your foot down. And when you're turning in for angle, it's not a case of just slamming the actual directional button in one position. What you've got to do is feather that left and right, left and right. So it's almost like a counter steering balancing act. Now I didn't pre-tune the car. I didn't do any configuration based setup. So maybe on reflection I should have. But regardless, even with my crap ability, I was still able to beat the objective, which is great. I'm definitely going to put practice in and get better at drifting for sure. But what I would like to see Ivory Tower do is give us bonus points for wall taps. Did a lot of wall taps there, and I think I was losing points as a result, which is a tiny bit disappointing, but nevertheless, who knows, it might be something they add in to the final version. As you know, this is pre-release footage. Hint, hint, if you're listening, Ivory Tower. But aside from that, in all honesty, I thoroughly enjoyed that. I really did. Really impressed with how responsive and sharp the controls were, and also the level of skill and judgment needed to get the angles right. Right, now moving on to some customization for the RX-7. Not looking to build anything too crazy here, just looking to showcase the parts to you guys before we take that build out and drift it around the open world. Well, at least try to drift it. Knowing me, I'll probably crash into just about everything moving.
Music.
Okay then, that was a quick customization of the RX-7. Now, as we take it out into the open world and do a little bit of drifting and cause a little bit of terror to the civilians, it serves as the perfect opportunity for us to discuss a few things. Now, first and foremost, the customization. Now, the RX-7 is a car that I will put into the medium bracket of customizations in the Crew 2. What I mean by medium bracket is it hasn't got an insane amount of parts for it, but it's not a car that's thin in terms of having hardly any options and choices whatsoever. As you would have seen in a video I dropped earlier, which was basically showing you around the apartments in the Crew 2, as well as the custom character, I actually customized a Camaro, an old school Camaro, and that had around about 40 plus front bumper combinations, and I think around about 70 for the rear, maybe even 80 if I'm not mistaken. No, it's around 75, who knows. But nevertheless, the important thing is there's enough choice there to ensure that your car has enough of your own artistic flair and personality stamped all over it. Now, here's the thing, the RX-7 is obviously a fan favourite. Many people like this car, many people are going to choose this car, it's going to be most people's drift car of choice. This is an early build of the game, bear that in mind, but what I'm hoping, oh no, let me rephrase that, what I'm asking is, Ivory Tower, if you're watching, you are watching this, clearly you are, please can you add some more parts for the RX-7 later on down the line. Clearly there are a lot of cars in this game, clearly you guys have been working extra hard, you've been doing a fantastic job in getting things ready for launch, but maybe later on down the line you can add a few more parts to the RX-7, maybe a few more ducktail spoilers here and there, maybe we can have an open top exposed hood, as I know there's actually one for the RX-7 in real life. I can't remember which brand it comes from. I don't know if it's Ben Sopro or Velside. I'm sure one of you guys can help me out with that in the comments. But the back of the car, the rear end of the car looks beautiful. It looks aggressive. It looks striking, and I would just like the front end to match it a little bit. Now, in terms of the drifting performance of this car, it's a weird one because in some ways it's easier to drift than the Aventador, in other ways it's a bit more difficult. So in terms of getting the front end in and getting it to behave and positioning it in the angle that you want to initiate the drift, it's a bit more predictable, it's a bit more consistent. But the thing is that because it's got less natural power than a Lamborghini, which is obvious, you would expect that, it's a lot harder to keep the momentum of the drift going. Now again, because of how excited I was to play the game, all logic went out the window. So just like with the Lamborghini drifting, I was actually doing this in automatic transmission rather than manual. So, you know, rather than hovering around the beloved third and fourth gears, I think I was all over the shop here. In fact, I wasn't even paying attention to what my gearing was. But the key thing that I took away from this, and probably the most pleasing aspect, was that the method and technique I was using for the Aventador was not the same technique I could use in the RX-7. Obviously, the premise of drifting is still the same. The fundamentals of it, the principles are there, but the way in which you handle the car is different. And that basically brings me on to the next point. In the Crew 2, each and every car has got its own personality, its own quirks when it comes to drifting. Just because you've mastered one, it doesn't necessarily mean that you've mastered them all. Between certain cars, you will find subtle differences, like in the case between this, the RX-7, and the Aventador. But I also took out a Shelby, an old school classic Shelby, for a bit of drifting as well. And that thing had all the power in the world, so much natural power, even in low gears, but getting it to actually initiate the drift was so difficult, just as you would expect, because muscle cars are very, very heavy. Look, here's the thing, I'm not going to sit here and preach to you guys that this is the best drifting based physics in any game, because Need for Speed fanboys are going to say that that's the best, Forza fanboys are going to say that that's the best. What I will say is what the Crew 2 provides you is a drifting experience that takes a bit of skill, a drifting experience that varies from car to car, and most importantly, a drifting experience which is better, significantly better than that from the first game. If it's your first time around here, I wish you a BOURNE welcome. Thank you ever so much for taking the time out to stop by and check out the video. I've got plenty of videos covering the Crew 2. Check out the links popping up on your screen right now, and I will see you when the next video comes out. Take it easy.